grew up Jewish in a town where anti-Semitism was rampant. He admits that there were times when he went to bed hungry. His father sold rags for a living. Kirk Douglas went on to become one of Hollywood's most famous actors, appearing in close to 80 films and receiving 3 Academy Award nominations. He now divides his time between acting and his second passion, writing, or at least one of his passions. He has written an autobiography, Ragman's Son, and 3 novels, the latest being Last Tango in Brooklyn, and we are very pleased to have him here at last. Welcome.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you.
It's great to have you. Listen to this, though. There are many things that are interesting about this book, but including this Filipino proverb, because this is about an old man who, in Brooklyn, Ben, who's athletic, who engages in a December-May, a December-April, a December-March romance with Ellen. The proverb that you use to introduce this book is, "Do not complain about growing old. Not everyone is granted that privilege."
It's an old Filipino proverb. And I tell you, especially after I had a helicopter crash about 3 years ago, I hardly subscribed to that proverb.
What changed after that crash, and tell me how it impacted what you thought about life and the rest of it?
Everything. I think that was, you know, really an epiphany in a way of events in my life, because, you see, when it happened, the way it happened, our helicopter was rising about 30, 40 feet above the ground. Our swirling blades cut into a plane, a little plane that was taking off. The plane exploded. We crashed to the tarmac, and when I wake up in the hospital, I was so guilty because I found that 2 young people, young enough to be my sons, were killed. And then the question is, why did I survive?
Why did this 70-plus-year-old man survive and these 2 young people with their life ahead of them?
Exactly. And in a sense, that question, a lot of that question propelled me in the writing of Last Tango in Brooklyn. You know, you get to a point in life, I think, you know, we are probably the only animals that know we're going to die. When you think of other animal life, I don't imagine other animals know of their mortality. But we are the only ones that know that we are going to die, but we don't think much about it. Not that we have to dwell on it, but I think, like Schweitzer, I think, once said, that when you really begin to live life when you are aware of death on your shoulder, when you're aware of your mortality. And I think that's very important. And that affects your life at any stage. It isn't necessary that you have to be an old man like me. You know, at any time, I think the sooner people are aware of that, I think the more it helps them in finding out how they want to live.
And so what did you decide?
Well, I'm still in the process of deciding, if you will, but it's changed a lot of my attitudes toward life. I think you find yourself hopefully becoming a better person. You realize how egocentric you are, especially in our profession. You know, we're actors, we're in front of the camera all the while, want to look right. You know, we're so involved in ourselves.
Right.
And you begin to realize that you have to start thinking more of other people.
Did you, in fact, say, go to your children, to Michael, and say, is there anything unspoken between us? Did you do any of that?
Absolutely. Indirectly, I did a lot of that. You know, you begin to settle the score. You begin to think of people who are important in your life, who've helped you at different times. And I find myself writing to them and thanking them. You know, you begin to try to be more aware of the world around you and what your relationship is to that world, instead of being so wrapped up in yourself.
You know, it reminds me of the late Lee Atwater, where he ran George Bush's campaign for the presidency. He was a very bright, young political operative who died in like 41 or 42, and he knew he was dying. I think he had a brain tumor of some kind, and he began to reach out to people that he had conflict with and other people to say, I'm sorry, and did a lot of things like that as a process. What did you say specifically? Because much has been made about the relationship between you and Michael. I asked that in the context of the relationship between you and your father, because you wrote in The Ragman's Son that you never got the approval you wanted.
Well, you know, for example, I learned to be able to say, for instance, any conversation I had with my 4 sons, I have wonderful sons, they're all different, all functioning. I never end a conversation without saying, I love you.
Yes.
And I noticed that all my sons, especially Michael, I would say, I love you, Dad. And you know, you think if that's the last thing they might hear from you, it's not a bad thing to be said. You see, my father never could say that, you know.
Different time, different circumstances.
Of course. And I think you begin to be aware of that it's important to show affection, gratitude, you know, pay back other people. You know, I feel you begin to wear that. I've been lucky, you know, when you were first introducing me, you know, I could almost hear the violins playing. I mean, that introduction was it was a B picture. I'd never make it into a movie. You know?
What, you mean I said too many nice things about you there?
Well, you know, from the depth of poverty.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
Well,
that's true, though.
He rose to become champion,
right.
you know.
But to read your own words, it is to believe, it is to say a thing that has driven you to success, whatever that is, came out of whatever impacted on you in Amsterdam.
Of course.
Right.
But Charlie, I think that's true. That's what our country's all about. You know, to me, my first book, my life story, was a tribute to America. I mean, not that anybody who has Russian parents that come over as illiterate immigrants can become a movie star, but you have a chance. Yeah. That's what our country's all about. My parents never went to school. They couldn't read or write. I was able to graduate college. I've been able to do things, learn foreign languages. I've been able to do things. And I think that our system gives you that chance with all its imperfections. And for that, I feel a debt. I feel that I have to do something more for my country, for other people. You have to pay back. If you have more than others, you have to help those that have less.
Why do you write?
Why do I write? Well, I feel writing, I mean, I had never thought of being a writer. But in a way, writing to me, Charlie, is not much different from acting, because when I'm writing, I act. I think of a story, I think of characters, and in my mind, I play all the scenes, and I have no one to criticize me. And I think it's terrific.
Yeah, and you probably were the actor, as an actor, who would go to the director, to the scriptwriter, and say, maybe if we did it this way, if we did it that way, or if we changed the script a little bit here.
Absolutely. But I think movie making, unlike a book or painting, is a collaborative process. I think, you know, you have to have the exchange of ideas. Yeah, I did a lot of that. I mean, the first movie I was in, the director said, oh, a thinking actor, huh? With contempt.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Just 2 year old, Douglas. We'll take care of the rest.
Yeah. But yes, I like to discuss things.
But do you paint?
No.
And even after playing Vincent van Gogh, you never wanted to, or did you try?
That's not true. I really wanted to. I tried, you know, and I had such an admiration. Of course, in doing Lust for Life, the story of Van Gogh, I did become very proficient in painting crows. I could, because in one scene there I had to zip off crows. I got very
the one thing you could do.
But there's not much of a call for that.
For crow painting. No. Well, we'll take one if you've got an extra one there. Let me talk a little bit about this and come back to acting. Why do you want to tell this story? This is the story, as I said. I mean, where did it come from?
Well, first of all, the background. People say, Last Tango in Brooklyn? Do you come from Brooklyn, Kirk? I said, no, I come from upstate New York. But I've always been fascinated with Brooklyn. Because, you know, Charlie, when you see a wonderful photograph of Manhattan, usually it comes from Brooklyn. Brooklyn has the best view of Manhattan, the Statue of Liberty. It's beautiful. Yeah. It's a wonderful place. And I remember when I was about 10 years old, someone took me to Coney Island. And the first time in my life, I was on a roller coaster, the Thunderbolt. And that's what I wrote about in this book. The Thunderbolt is now, there has a big fence around it. I climbed over the fence to look it over, and it's decaying. And I couldn't believe that, because in my mind, when I thought of the Thunderbolt, nothing was so alive as that roller coaster. It frightened me. I wet my pants. I thought, wow, this was my entrance into manhood, doing that. So that's one of the reasons that I use that as the background. Then, you know, there's a lot that I can identify with this gym instructor, who I base after my own gym instructor.
Who you've been going to for, what, 20, 25 years?
25 years. I go to him 15 minutes a day.
What's his name?
Mike Abrams.
At 15 minutes a day for 25 years.
That's right. You know, I must
say,
in addition, I've done quite a few movies where I've had to do quite a bit of exercise.
Spartacus,
but
for
you
one.
know, for example, in the book, Ben, the Mike Abrams character I call Ben, all the theories of exercise that he talks about what my gym instructor says. He says you don't need more than
15 minutes,
a day.
some aerobics, some
different weights, one after the other.
toning up.
And then, of course, you try to watch your diet. You try to walk up steps instead of taking the elevator. You try to walk a little bit, and you can stay in condition. If you want to become a muscle man, you have to do
2
more.
or 3 hours a day. Yeah.
Sure.
Do you get the same satisfaction from writing that you do from acting?
More.
More? Because
you see, because in acting, you are just one cog in a thing. In writing, you know, here,
it's yours.
My book. I wrote it. You don't like it? I'm sorry. I wrote it. You know, that's...
if you didn't like me in a certain role, blame the director.
That's right.
Blame my co-star.
The script writer.
Script,
you know, you have a lot of people play. But when you write a book or paint a picture, the same thing with painting. Yeah. You can't blame anyone. You have to take all the credit, but you have to take all the blame. And that's kind of exciting. It's a challenge. I like that.
What's the great unfulfilled passion of your life? Well, we mentioned acting, we mentioned writing, we mentioned sex.
Well, I always say, what was that last thing you said?
I just threw that out to see if you were listening.
You want to see if I was paying attention? Yes. I was paying attention.
You were, good.
You know, I've often said, you know, there's a Browning quote, a man's reach should far exceed his grasp of what's a heaven for.
Yeah.
And I think in life, you never stop. You must continue to grow. Yeah. And I think it sounds corny. I think at this stage of my life, I find a desire to be a better person in the work that I do, in the books that I write, the movies I do, and what I do as a person.
I don't have my degree in psychiatry, but there is something that to read about you that sits there. It is the notion that you admire Kirk Douglas more than you like him, or there's something about how driven you have been. Is anything to that notion?
Absolutely. You know, I've been married.
You admire success, you admire achievements, you admire his drive, yet you wonder sometimes about the cost and the toll.
Very good. Hey, that's very perceptive. I think that's true. I think I'm at that point. You know, I was married twice. My first wife, Diana, I remember when Holland was making movies, and she said, Kirk, why are you always working so hard? You're sort of like working so hard to become a star. You are a star. and that always set me back. I knew what she meant, you know. But I have always had that feeling within me. It's like I have never gotten there. I've never really done whatever it is. I've never written a book as well as I'd like to. That's right. Never done a movie as well as I would like it to be. And you become driven, because a lot of that is from my background, you know. I guess when you're hungry or something. And I like to change that. But I don't think I will very much.
I don't either. You're pretty much formed, sir.
I better come to terms with what I am. Yeah.
Are they still giving you opportunities to act? I mean, Greedy was how long ago? What was it?
Well, a few months ago. What do you mean?
Are you getting scripts all the time?
Craig T. Nelson in 2 weeks. As a matter of fact, I prefer to write.
Yeah.
But this script came up. You know, the reason I did Greedy, I was looking to do a movie with my son Michael.
Right.
And Michael was looking.
Why doesn't Michael use you more than he does?
Why don't I use him more than I do? What the hell is it? I came on this program to be but we try to find a script. We only have one movie to do.
Right.
So he comes to me with a script. I come to him. We haven't found it. So somebody said.
But you're looking. I mean, that is the.
Oh yeah.
That's one of the passions is to find something
I like
that.
To do. Yeah. And then they came to me and they said, "Listen, Kirk, got a wonderful script for you and Michael." I read it. I didn't know they meant Michael J. Fox, and that was Greedy.
Yes.
Now I have a script that Michael brought to me a couple of years ago. Yeah. And I thought, no, this is not good enough, Michael. 6 months ago they brought it to me, and they had rewritten it. I thought it was wonderful. I said, Michael, let's do that script. He's tied up for the next year or so, and the producers have to do have to make the movie. So I said, I'll do it. I'm going to do it with Craig T. Nelson, the fellow who does Coach.
Coach, yes.
Wonderful actor. And I start that in another week. So don't keep saying, Charlie, I mean, come on.
No, I didn't. All I said
I
don't know how many scripts you're getting. You're getting plenty of scripts.
Well, yes, I get scripts. Yeah. My desire to make, I've made 81 movies. I think maybe I've done enough movies. And when I think of all the movies I've done, so many of the characters that I've played, it's like they're part of me. You know, I think of different lines from Champion, you know.
What's the best line from Champion?
I don't want to be a hey you all my life. I want to hear them call me Mister. At that time, that was me. I didn't have to act that part. That was me, you know. But, you know, and then different lines, you know, when I think of, you know, Spartacus talking to
What was the best
Varinia.
line for Spartacus?
Well, you know, when I think of Spartacus, you know, this great fighter for freedom, I think after the battle is over and he's talking to Varinia and he's saying, I'm free, but I know nothing. Nothing. I don't know how to read. I want to know everything. I want to know why a star falls and a bird doesn't. You know, why the moon changes shape. Where does the wind come from? I mean, you know, when Spartacus was asking those questions, I thought, those are the questions I've asked when I was a kid. As a matter of fact, most of them I don't know exactly. I don't know the answer yet. And that's what I think of Spartacus, because this big warrior, and most people think of him in the arena, but behind all that, there was a man groping to be something more.
So in a sense, you gave to the characters, but the characters gave to you in every case.
Yeah.
How about Lust for Light?
Oh, that's the most pathetic role I ever played. That character broke my heart. I mean, to be this genius, to be so mixed up, to be homosexual and not even know whether, not even be sure of your identity, but to have this talent that was never recognized. As a matter of fact, it changed my life quite a bit. I found it was after that that I sold. I had quite a few good paintings. I sold most of the paintings that I had, the so-called important paintings, and I developed my charity foundation with that.
Why did you do that?
Because I thought most of these artists are dead, like Van Gogh. They're paying $50 million, $60 million. He couldn't sell one painting when he was alive.
Died.
Now my wife and I buy paintings from living artists. Yeah. I like to meet the artists, you know, whether it's Rosenquist or Graham or Arnoldi, whoever it is, and say, hey, I like your painting. And at least give him that satisfaction.
Now, did you sell them, or did you create a foundation, or you put them in a museum somewhere?
No, I sold the paintings and put the money in a charitable foundation that enables me to do something for other people.
Have you ever wanted to direct?
I have directed.
No, but I mean, do you want it badly?
No. I have always found, I directed 2 pictures, not one I don't think was good at all. The other, Posse, I did with Bruce Dern. Right. You know, I had to act in it, produce it, and direct it, try to do too much. I enjoyed the experience, but I've always felt that I'm much more of a student than I am a teacher. See, I guess that's selfish. Yeah. See, I'd much rather learn something rather than stop to teach someone something.
Exactly.
So it's not a very nice quality, really.
No, why not, though? I mean, it says something about, I mean, I think one of the most engaging qualities in human beings is a childlike curiosity about whatever. You know, what makes the wind blow and why.
Absolutely.
And all of those things
Charlie,
that you talk about.
Nobody
that keeps you young as well.
Yeah, nobody can be an artist in any field if they don't retain a certain childlike naivete.
Right.
You know, and also you have to have the guts to fall on your ass, to be able to fail. See, if you're frightened of failing, you always play it safe. Yes. So you have to take a chance. You know, I'm frightened. I write a book. Yeah. Jesus, like now, the book is coming out. Will they like it? Yeah. Will they scoff at it? You know, the fact that you like the book pleases me.
But it would never stop you from writing.
No.
The fact that they might say, this is no good.
No. They're not going to stop me now.
Now, have you been in therapy much?
Oh, yes. Years ago, I went through 5 years of therapy after my first divorce, trying to find out more about myself. I ended it. I realized, I thought, well, I'm a bright boy. I'll go in here in about a month or so. Doctor and I will we'll straighten Kirk Douglas out.
It'll take about a month and we'll figure it all out.
I found out you don't graduate. You never quite graduate. But I stopped when I realized that the shrink was more screwed up than I was. I thought, wow.
I don't know. Every shrink in America now is going to say, see,
the fact that he's screwed up doesn't mean that he can't help someone else. Yeah.
So you finally said, enough of this, and I'll do it on my own.
Yeah. But in a sense, that's what we all do. We are all going through, or should we? We're all going through therapy of some kind. We're
growing old. Is there part of it that makes it? I mean, one of the great things about older people is they don't care as much.
Who are you talking about?
Well, not you, of course, but I mean, you're 70, what, 77?
77.
You no longer lie about it either. You used to lie about your age.
Oh, all the time. My God, all the time.
And then you got caught because,
well, Michael
according to
screwed
you,
me up.
I know.
You know, I used to take 5 years off Michael's age. Then, didn't Kirk say Michael's telling the truth? Anyhow.
Michael says it's 25, and by your calculation, he'd be 18 or something like that.
Sure. Sure.
No, but growing old, exercise. There was a recent thing done that was covered in all the major papers and on television about how much difference exercise among people over 65, how much difference it can make. You know,
I mean, they have tests, Charlie, of people in their 90s
yeah.
who work out with weights, and they show a whole difference. They have a muscular development.
Right.
See, a lot of people just give up. They just, you know, become sedentary. They don't do anything.
Not you.
You've got to keep moving. Mentally and physically, you have to keep moving.
Keep moving.
Absolutely.
That's the title of the next book. Keep
Not
moving.
a bad title.
Great to see you.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you very much.
I enjoyed it.
Me too. Pleasure.
Thank you.
Kirk Douglas, Last Tango in Brooklyn. We thank you for joining us this evening. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow night. See you then.